Good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning. For those of you who don't know who I am Bernie Davis. And I want to come on this morning and talk to you about one of my old Shakespearean books, and in particular, a quote from that book, Julius Caesar, where Julius said to his friend Brutus, when he got that stab in the back, he looked at him and he said, Et tu, Brute? In other words, and you too, Brutus? You know, how many of us have had that et tu, Brute moment in our lives, where the people we thought would have literally had our backs were nowhere to be seen. They didn't have our backs. In fact, they were the ones that were putting the knife in. We've had it in different ways, but I put it to you. And as I embark upon my allyship training, you who know me know that I'm all about going together or not at all. You know that I really believe that allyship is one of the key fundamentals in gaining true and deliberate diversity within the context of the work environment, within the culture, and in particular within Wales, because this is where I do my work and where I live. So I tend to focus my thoughts and my work around Wales. But it's not just Wales, because all of these things are they are transatlantic, they are trans-regional. It is really applicable to us all. So back to that quote, et tu, Brute. What does that quote have to do with allyship? Well, I put it to you that it has everything to do with allyship, because allyship is about understanding your power, your privilege, and your influence, and using it to inform how we treat with people, but most particularly inform how we encourage others to treat people, how we engage in social cohesion. So in that context with Julius Caesar and Brutus, well, they wanted the throne. It was more a matter of taking somebody down who was up. But let's put it in the context of allyship. We need to be looking at how can we elevate others. And when we have people who come into our workspaces, let's put it in the context of work first. So you have people who come in, they have put their quote unquote work life at least in your hands. And in truth, their actual lives in your hands, because we do know that well-being of our teams is really very, very dependent on how they are treated by the ones who govern those teams and by the behaviors of their other individual team members. We know that. We spend most of our hours, the breaking hours, at least during the week, in work. So it's a great place of influence, and it affects how we operate outside of work. So we can't think, we can't look at our work world in a vacuum and think, well, we're not responsible for what happens within the economy, within society, when we, by virtue of how we treat our teams. As leaders, we have to take responsibility for that. So when we have people who come into our offices, into our workplaces, and they trust us to take care of them. They trust us, of course, first of all, to pay them the wages that they are worth. So let's not go into the gender pay gap, right? Well, I just had to make that. I'm a woman, so I had to mention that. But they trust us to pay us what they're worth. They also trust us to value their opinions. They trust us to treat them as equal participants in the vision and the mission of the organization. So when they do that and they put their lives, quote unquote, in our hands and join our workplaces, when we don't act as true allies, when we don't speak up when we see they're treated wrongly, when we don't give everybody a chance for the same chance for recognition and escalation, when we are not mentoring them in the ways that they need to be mentored, when we are not calling out certain types of behaviors, when we are encouraging groupthink, which is where we shut up and silence some, cut them off, interrupt them, and we give room and space for others, where we have no room for any kind of critical thinking or anything that goes outside of what we and our little groups and our little key friends think. Those are acts of disloyalty. And whether you know it or not, some of these people are looking at us and saying, "Et tu, brute?" And you? We have it in this context. We have it in this other context. No, I'm in work. Et tu, brute? Yes, we have to really consider how we treat with people. And then when we look at then outside of the context of work, let's look at the sociological context. Let's look at how we operate within the context of our own groups, our own networks. I say it all the time. This diversity and inclusion agenda is not just about black and white and the usual protected characteristics. It is going to human nature, because human nature finds that it is very, well, it helps if they can separate themselves, distinguish themselves to make themselves better because of fear. They feel that they won't have enough for themselves if they share it, the space and the room. When they go up the ladder, they pull the ladder up below them. Also, there are ways that humans, the ones who actually help people to go up, create that kind of unspoken language and attitude that makes that person understand there's room for any more of you, so you better be careful. Don't bring too many with you. We only have room for one. Yes. So what happens is that we get the crab in the barrel mentality. We find that in the white context, we're looking at, who is the one who is blonde, who is the one who is from the better region, who is the one who speaks more, aplomb, who's the one who has the better socioeconomic background, who's the one who's pretty, who's the one who's skinny, who's the one who's tall, we find ways that we send messages to the rest of the groups that we are in, that you're better off if you stick in this group, you're better off if you stick in that group. And I tell you, a lot of the times, if we pay attention, there are a lot of people looking at us and thinking, "Et tu, brute? Are you telling me that you don't want me to manage you because I'm not from Swansea and I've come down from Cardiff? Do you mean that because I don't understand rugby as a man and my game is football, you don't really want to include me in the conversations?" Et tu, when we were just two of us speaking, you were happy to talk to me, but then when the popular people came who thought more like you, you pretended I don't exist. Et tu, brute? All of those things are forms of allyship. Wherever you have any influence, wherever you have an opportunity to speak, and wherever you have an opportunity to make a difference, you have an opportunity to be an ally. And when you find yourself not doing that, you are being disloyal to the cause. You are being treacherous. You are no better than Brutus. And then even in amongst us as women, we talk about gender equality. Sometimes we have to look at each other and say, "Et tu?" Because sometimes as a woman, when you get a position of authority, instead of including other women, you find ways to keep them out of your space. You find ways to discount and discredit them. You find ways to even use some of the language that our male counterparts use against us, against this other female, because we feel threatened. Et tu, brute? We seriously need to consider this. We need to look at who are the people that we are engaging with on social media. Are we congratulating people secretly in Messenger, but not dare to put it publicly because we don't think it's popular to support that person? Et tu, Brute! Now is the time to really think about what true allyship is. We can't just be using lip service. We've got to, each one of us, examine ourselves and see if et tu, Brute. So I'm not going to go on and on. I just thought I'd come on and say allyship is just as much about showing loyalty, not loyalty only to the people who we are accustomed to, the people who think like us, are like us, look like us, but loyalty to a cause. And that cause is to include everyone. Everyone deserves the right to be heard. Everyone deserves the right to be understood. Everyone deserves a right to be valued. Everyone deserves a right to belong. Our loyalty must not be to people and to ambition, to selfish ambition. Our loyalty must be to what is right, what is humane, what has integrity written all over it, what has kindness written all over it. So join me at the St. David's Hotel on the 22nd of November, when myself and other like-minded businesses and entrepreneurs will be deep diving into allyship. We'll be looking at groupthink, echo chambers, privilege, that invisible knapsack of privilege that some of us walk around with. We'll examine that. We'll understand our power. We'll understand our responsibility. We'll understand that we need to be loyal to one truth, and that is that we go together or not at all. So ask yourselves, et tu, Brute? Thank you so much for listening.